Be'ez Hashem Tzboch, we begin Hilchos Shevitas Asor, the halachas of resting on the 10th, referring to the 10th of Tishrei, to the day of Yom Kippur, which is the third out of the 10 halachas in the Sevis Man, the book of designated times. Which yesh b'chlal arba mitzvahs, in the category there's 4 commandments, shtei mitzvahs, say 2 positive commandments, or shtei mitzvahs, let's say, and 2 negative prohibitions. These are the specifics. Number 1, lishbais by malacha, to refrain from doing work. Beis number 2, shaloi lasses by malacha, which lishbais is a positive commandment, to refrain, shvisa. And number 2 is the negative of that, shaloi lasses by malacha, not to do any forbidden work. Gimel number 3 is lasanas by, which is the positive commandment, the active of to afflict oneself not to eat, to fast. And dal number 4 is shaloi lecha b'lisha, not to eat and drink in it, which is the negative prohibition of that. Uber kol mitzvahs, an explanation of all these commandments, but prokamela are in these 3 chapters. The first one, the one we're discussing now, refers to the mitzvah of resting on Yom Kippur, the mitzvah of shvisa, and the last 2 program discuss the halacha of inui, of that afflicting oneself, of fasting on Yom Kippur. And then we get to halacha off regarding this resting from malacha. Mitzvah saseh, it is a positive commandment, lishbeis malacha, to refrain from work, but asur l'chodesh shvi, on the 10th of the 7th month. Shlomo says in the pasuk, Yikor Shabbos nilchem, a resting of rest, it should be for you. Now, whoever does malacha on Yom Kippurim, bittul mitzvah saseh, he has nullified a positive commandment, and and also violated a negative prohibition. Shenemik says in the pasuk, besides the mitzvah saseh of Shabbos Shabbosin, says Asor begun on the 10th of Tishrei, etc. Kamalocha leisasu, all work one should not do, which is negative prohibition. Now, what is he liable for if he does malacha on this day of Yom Kippurim? So it must have returned if he did it willingly and bezadin deliberately. Chayav kares is liable for kares, which is being cut off at a young age. If he did it by mistake, chayav carbon chatzas, he's liable for a set carbon chatzas, in contrast to that which is dependent on other factors. Halacha based. Now, kamalacha shchayim nas doin b'Shabbos skila. Any malacha that one is liable if he does deliberately on Shabbos, skila being stoned to death, capital punishment. So chayavim al zadoine ba'asr kares. He's going to be liable if he does deliberately on the 10th of Tishrei, kares. That's the one difference between them, that he doesn't get the punishment in Bezdin, rather it's b'dei shemayim from kares. Now, b'chol shchayim love carbon chatzas b'Shabbos. Whatever you're liable for carbon chatzas on Shabbos, for a sin offering, you're liable for the same carbon chatas on Yom Kippurim. And anything that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos, even though it's not a malacha, you're not do it on Yom Kippurim. And if one does in Yom Kippurim, makanis and makas mardus, he only gets the rabbinic lashes, not malchus, because it's not a negative prohibition, it's only a positive commandment of tishbais. The way you would get lashes if you violate on Shabbos. Now, whatever you're not allowed to carry on Shabbos, you're not allowed to move it on Yom Kippur. Anything you're not allowed to say or do initially on Shabbos, so it's forbidden Yom Kippur. And the rule is as follows: there is no halachic difference between Shabbos and Yom Kippur in these regards of malacha. Ella, the only difference is doing malacha b'Shabbos. If one deliberately does malacha on Shabbos, it's beskil, he gets stoned to death. Yom Kippur, he gets cut off. Halacha gimel. Now, umutter lekaniv esayerik, which Rambam is going to explain in a second what this trimming of the vegetables are. B'yom Kippurim, you're allowed to do that. From the afternoon and onwards, but before that not, because you might forget and eat from it. Now, ma'al kinav, what's this kinav that you could do? Sheyaster esa olam hamu pashas, that you could remove the moldy leaves. The katzis hashar, and cut off the rest. B'sakan esachil, and prepared for eating, which you'll do on Matzah Yom Kippur. And v'chem mefatzin begazin, you could also crack open nuts. You could unpack the pomegranate from the mid-afternoon and onwards. And the reason is b'nei agmas nefesh, which either can be translated because actually causes pain to the person, which is desirable in Yom Kippurim, or to the contrary, because of pain, to alleviate that, we allow you to trim the vegetables. But be that as it may, that's permitted from the mid-afternoon. But Yom Kippurim shchalis b'Shabbos now. If Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, then you now do this trimming of the vegetables, the pizza goizim, and the cracking of the nuts, and the crumbling of the pomegranate all day, because it's Shabbos, and we don't want to differentiate for Shabbos. And the custom has already been for the people in Bavel and in the Western Eretz Yisrael. They don't do any one of these activities that we describe on the day of the fast. Rather, they treat it like Shabbos for all halachic purposes, and not to differentiate to do these things on Shabbos, even on Mini Yom Kippurim. Now, regarding the Shvisa, a different type of resting from eating and drinking. There's a different positive commandment on Yom Kippurim, the Day of Atonement. And that is to refrain from eating and drinking. Like says in the pasuk, you should afflict your souls. Which from tradition they learned what's the affliction that's for the soul. It says es nafshe seichem. That's fasting as afflicting for the person's nefesh. Whoever fasts on Yom Kippurim, he fulfills the positive commandment of Tanu. Now, whoever eats and drinks on that day, Bittul mitzvah says nullifying this positive commandment, and Abba likes to say also violates the negative prohibition because in the pasuk it says Kichala nefesh and any soul that does not afflict themselves in the essence of this day, v'nechar certainly gets karas. So me'achash anish hakatz of karas. So since the pasuk is punishing for karas, whoever does not fast, we learn obviously obviously we are prescribed, we're forewarned not to eat and drink. So there's a negative prohibition that's being violated. Now, whoever eats or drinks by mistake, in error, will be liable for a set sin offering. We also learn from tradition that one, if there's 5 inurim, that you're not allowed to bathe on it, or to anoint on Yom Kippurim, or linol as a sandal, to wear the shoes, or libel to have cohabitation, together with the other one, which is eating and drinking. Now, a mitzvah lishbis mikol elu, and it's a mitzvah to refrain from these things, just like he refrains from eating and drinking. It says in the pasuk, Shabbos Shabbosim. What's that redundancy? Shabbos refraining is le'inachila, or actually other girsos have regarding malacha. Shabbosim, and a double refraining is le'inyan elu for these 5 additional inuyim. But bein chayav in kares, but one's not liable for kares, or a carbon, if he violates elal chila v'shtia only regarding eating and drinking. But if he took a shower, or he anointed himself with cream, or he put on shoes, or ball, or he had cohabitation, that's not the negative prohibition on that. He only gets rabbinic lashes. Halacha vav regarding adding on to this shvisa before Yom Kippur and after Yom Kippur, when it starts and ends. Just like one has to refrain from malacha on the 10th of Tishrei, whether during the day or the night before it. So too there is a refraining for the inui, meaning not just for malacha, but also for afflicting both by day and by night. Now, but one has to add on from the mundane onto the holy, to add on what's not even Yom Tov yet, when you're entering into the Yom Tov, and when you're ending it. Like it says in the pasuk, you should afflict your souls, in the 9th of the month on the evening. What do you mean the 9th of the month? The evening is already the 10th. In other words, start fasting and afflicting erev tisha hasamach lasiri, from the evening when it's still in the 9th, which is close to the 10th, when it's going right before the Yom Tov of Yom Kippurim, and when it's leaving. He should delay with his afflicting a little bit, milil achad asar, from the night going into the 11th of Tishrei samach lasiri, which is close to the 10th. Shlomo says in the pasuk, me'erev ad erev tishbesur shabbatchem. From the evening until the evening, you should totally rest. What's until the evening? That even some of the next evening should even be part of this inui and shvisa of malacha of what we're saying is Yom Kippurim. Halacha zayin. Now, regarding the women, that they continue to eat and drink on every Yom Kippurim up until when it gets dark. They don't know there's the mitzvah to add on from a little bit from the day of Erev Yom Kippurim onto the holy of the 10th of Tishrei. A little bit on the 9th they still have to be fasting. They go till the 2nd that it's already Yom Kippurim. We don't protest against them. That they don't come to do it deliberately, now that they know, and they're still going to do it. It's impossible to be an officer in the house of every single person, to warn his wives that they're not allowed to do this. So b'hanachlan, leave them sheyishaygen that they should be doing an error, and they shouldn't be doing it deliberately. Anything that's similar like that. In other words, anything that's not explicit in the Torah, and people act as if it's permitted, and it's something that it's in the control of every single person. The halacha would be rather let them do it by mistake, and not you're going to tell them they're going to do it anyway, and they're going to be doing it deliberately, which is obviously a more serious offense.